Welcome to the Divine Living Talk Show. I'm your host, Gina DeVee, and this is your weekly segment on doing business like a queen. You are 10 minutes away from creating the ultimate success you deserve. So grab a note-taking device and let's get started. Welcome to the Divine Living Talk Show. I'm your host, Gina DeVee, and today we're talking feminine leadership. You know, what does that even mean, feminine leadership? Because I think that for those of us in business and those of us in leadership positions, whether it's leadership in the house or here in the office, there's this question of how do you get things done? How do you really lead? And how do you do it the feminine way? I mean, so many of us, of course, have been modeled the masculine way, and I think it's not what most of us are really interested in. Because I know that when I started my business, I was interested in doing all things feminine. I understand there's a certain amount of masculinity that needs brought into the process, but I wanted to create wealth based on feminine principles. And then I also wanted to lead from a very feminine place. So it's been a journey, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you today so that together we can create a new culture among women and among women leaders that really represents feminine leadership. So let's talk a little bit about what is femininity anyways. Femininity is that invisible place within us. It's the insightful, the spiritual, the creative, the intuitive nature. It's our way of being in the world. Versus the masculine, which is linear, it's concrete, it's logical, it's more about doing in the world. Now, we've talked about being a queen is the masterful blend of both. And deepening into feminine leadership, it's such a learned and valuable art. So my first tip on becoming an amazing feminine leader is not the easiest one, I'm not gonna lie. It is really about personal responsibility. And so I learned that the best way that I could have a happy life and a happy business was to really take my leadership seriously. And I have shared, I haven't always gotten it right. The way that I have been able to empower myself the most is by really taking a look at if everything in my business is an extension of me, what level of personal responsibility do I need to take to shift things into a greater outcome or an even better result? Whether it was an external result or one of the internal ones where it was just about a greater level of pleasure and happiness within my own company. And this is really valuable. I think that so often we're just programmed when something's going wrong, it's someone else's fault. And that's our default mode. I don't have a good enough team. I don't have enough time in the day. My clients aren't this, that, or the other. And it's like, we're going to zip all that up because anytime you place the responsibility for anything getting better in your life with your team, with your clients, with your family, with your friends, you disempower yourself. That's what I learned along the way. And if I were to really go in and use radical responsibility in terms of, okay, this system isn't working in my business, I'm going to take personal responsibility on that to create a system that's going to be really effective. I have a team culture that needs to be shifted, then I will take the responsibility to take the time to do the training for that. If there's a dynamic going on with my clients, same exact thing. And what I've found is that when I really take a look at not making myself wrong or getting into blame or my fault, because that's just the pendulum swing, right? Like, let's say there's a conflict between you and a client. The default is to make it the client's fault or the default is to make it your fault. It's not about fault. It's about ownership. It's about power. It's about you accessing your power as a feminine leader to create a solution from higher consciousness. That's what I have found is the most divine way to be in feminine leadership, is to really know that the solution is available. Now, how are you going to get the solution from the higher consciousness? We all know that Einstein said you cannot solve your problems from the same level you were at when you created them. So, where do I go? The meditation pillow, the journal, and prayer. Because I'll tell you, and I've always said, you want the best personal development seminar on the planet? Start your own business. This will come at you left, right, and center. And being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. But if you're a visionary and if you're passionate and if you have a mission to accomplish and get out in the world, I will help you do exactly that. And what you've got to do is you've got to go into spiritual principle to be a feminine leader. And you have to be more committed to the solution than being right. The age-old adage is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I think that the more comfortable you can get with not needing to be right without making yourself wrong. And when you get that the better solution always exists, you just become committed to that. So I had a situation happen in my business recently where there was a standoff happening. Like there was a conflict and two people had a very different opinion on how this was going to get resolved. I was one of those people. And I was angry. I was triggered. I was not Mama was not happy. And you know what happens? Mama not happy. Nobody was happy. And so I had to go through this process myself where I really went to take a look at personal responsibility. What did I do to create this? And what is the solution? Well, I just got myself angrier at this other person because this person clearly wasn't right and I was. And what I did in the process was say, Gina, what's your commitment? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And what I really got was that I wanted a higher level solution. I wanted the solution more than anything. And so learning to humble your own ego about getting out of this right or wrong mentality is what feminine leadership is really about. Go for the solution and be available to be humbled in the process. Be available for someone else's opinion to be a better part of the solution, or be available to understand what really needs to happen to create long-lasting success. So for me, because I've analyzed things at every possible angle, I'm sure you have too when you've gotten into those trigger zones and conflict areas, it was either someone was going to be right and someone was going to be wrong. So I had to go and pray. I had to go and really relentlessly seek what is the solution. And it came. For me, that particular solution came in the lesson of the reason why I was in the conflict in the first place was there was an area that I did not take enough personal responsibility. I was relying on different team members. This is not to make them wrong. I was relying on different team members to execute one of the departments in my company. And I didn't know what the terms of the contract. I didn't know all of the pieces that needed to be in place. I didn't know who was supposed to do what. And I was just mad that the outcome that I was looking for wasn't in existence. So it was very empowering to get that it's my responsibility as the owner of the company to know the terms of my contracts, to know who's doing what, to have systems set up in place so that everyone can win. And that's really what it's about. Everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to succeed. Everyone wants to use their gifts and talents. Everyone wants to do a good job. Everyone cares. And if there's a dynamic going on in your company that doesn't have that, then create it and be solution oriented. So really understand that being committed to developing your feminine leadership, you're going to have to get comfortable with conflict resolution. You're going to have to get comfortable with really seeing things from different angles. And you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because the more you do that, you're just going to break yourself open. I know that doesn't sound that fun, but I'm telling you, freedom is so on the other side of this. Because then you start to develop these habits where you don't even start a project until you've taken that personal responsibility, until you know what each team player is doing, where you know that you have the systems in place, and then you are leading from a place that sets everyone up for success, including you. So it's worth the time to not just be a dictator and be it's my way or the highway. It's worth the time to really include your own spiritual journey in your feminine leadership style, because you will get answers, you will get solutions, you will see what the higher consciousness has to offer you, and you will be so thrilled and proud along the way. So I'd love for you to leave a comment about what are the areas that you are grappling with your own feminine leadership. Let's be in conversation with this together. I'm looking forward to reading where you're at with it, and please do share this video with your friends, your colleagues, and all the other women out there that are working so hard to be great feminine leaders. Let's band together and do this together.